Our presenters are Kay Stroud and Marty Flournoy of College Foundation, Incorporated. In just a moment, I'll turn it over to Jennifer and we'll begin the presentation. But first, we'd like you to feel free to ask questions by typing them into the Q&A box located on the bottom right side of the screen. Our panelists will answer them as quickly as possible. And for those questions that require extra time to answer, you'll be contacted as soon as we've found the information you need. At this point, I'm going to let Jennifer Haygood make some remarks while I pass control of the program to Marty.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for participating in today's webinar about financial aid simplification. Specifically, we're going to hopefully teach you all some more information about ICER verification and C-flag resolution services that we have established a relationship with the North Carolina State Education Assistance Authority and College Foundation, Inc. to provide to our system. We are now approaching our third year of this relationship. You all are probably very familiar with the fact that we've had 4 pilots who participated for the 12-13 academic year. We have 11 colleges that are participating for this current academic year, and as we look towards next academic year, we are interested in having additional colleges participate in this initiative. Colleges are encouraged, but this decision, of course, is a voluntary local decision, and I hope today that we will be able to provide you the information and details you may need to determine whether or not this is an opportunity that would fit well for your college. We're very pleased to have representatives from CFI today, and with that, I'm going to pass it on to Kay.
All right. Thank you so much, Jennifer, and thank you and welcome to all of you attending today. We appreciate your interest in this service. The goal of the Federal Verification Service is financial aid simplification is to take some of the administrative burden off the school to allow more time to focus on their students' needs. By allowing the School Servicing Center to complete the verification process with the students, the school has more time to do what they do best: serve and counsel their students. A little bit about who participates in the service. College Foundation, you know well. College Foundation has more than 50 years of experience in administering financial programs for higher education. They have expertise in robust technology, working with students attending North Carolina colleges and universities, working with families and schools. Also, as a collaborative effort, also working with us is Financial Aid Services from Atlanta. They have a 20-year history with a staff that averages 19 years of professional financial aid experience. They have processed more than 1 million student files, including verification. Many times, there have been times with the U.S. Department of Education coming to Financial Aid Services saying to them, can you work with a school who is having difficulties? And they have been very successful in those projects. What is verification? FAFSA assesses the need for federal student aid. What happens is that the student completes the FAFSA, and the CPS calculates the expected family contribution using federal methodology. The schools then, in turn, receive the student ICER. The ICER has the expected family contribution, and this is the same for all schools. Schools are required to complete verification on selected files, either selected by the central processing system or selected by the school. They may be selected to verify the earnings, the income taxes paid, household size, number in college, and any other discrepant or conflicting information. With the customized verification, the tracking codes have now been very specific of what is to be verified. There are also C codes which denote record database mismatches between federal databases or insufficient information for a database match. That must be resolved before a student can be dispersed federal financial aid. School Servicing Center offers 2 services: federal verification, designated by the U.S. Department of Education or by the school. All changes are for the 13-14 award year and the upcoming 14-15 award years. School Servicing Center will verify the following federal tracking groups. V1, which is the standard verification group. V2, which is SNAP. Please note that that's been eliminated for 2014-15, but any time that a family denotes that SNAP benefits have been received, it must be verified. Again, in V3, Child Support Paid Verification Group. V4 is not one it is supported by school servicing because the school must verify the identity of the student, high school completion status, and the statement of educational purpose. Of the V5, School Servicing Center can verify the V1 portion of the V5 of the V4 group, the aggregate group. And for 14-15, there's a new group, which is the Household Resources Verification Group, which means sometimes it's going to look at the untaxed income and even go further to say, okay, you may have to verify how a family is living on a certain amount of income if it looks like the family cannot live on the income reported. There's also the resolution of C flags that we can resolve. On the next slide, you have an example of the C flag resolution that can be completed by School Servicing Center. These database mismatches may come from Selective Service, from the Department of Homeland Security, the Department of Justice, Social Security Administration, or Veterans Affairs. I mean, they can be resolved. For the 2013-14 award year, there are 11 community colleges, 2 UNC schools, and 1 out-of-state school participating in the verification service. Verification service is consistent, fully compliant, and it still allows the school some choice in additional verification items. Verification is complete in 5 to 7 days, which is less than 1/3 of the national average when all requirements have been met. Some schools have reported 50% more aid, including the receipt of the Pell Grant, processed and available for fall registration payment deadlines. And the results in the partnership between school services and schools. The financial aid administrators have reported more time with students more likely to withdraw or defer enrollment. And as we know, even with the satisfactory academic progress, it is taking more time to talk to schools, so this service does allow them to work with schools to develop their academic plan to be successful. There's a noticeable reduction in office visits and phone traffic during verification cycle and the fall registration because the School Servicing Center is doing that for the school. The students are pleasantly shocked by the significant improvement in process and specifically how quickly their financial aid funds may be available to them. In the verification process, this is the process at a glance. The college will upload a roster, a list of students to be verified. As soon as the list is uploaded, the rules engine is looking at the ISER data and trying to match the data with the student record that the school uploaded. As soon as the analysis has been completed, emails begin going out to the student to tell the student that there is a working partnership with the school, to tell them to come to the School Servicing Center website to determine their requirement and to begin processing to get this completion of the verification. There are follow-up missing information letters sent to the students on a regular basis. If there is any conflicting or other information that needs to be looked at, Financial Aid Services may work with those students to clear up the conflicting information or the discrepant information. If it is found that there are corrections, School Services will export the corrected ISER data to the central processing system. The school and School Servicing Center will receive the corrected ISER data. It does go through the full analysis again. And once it is confirmed, then right now we go into the school's financial aid management system and flag the student's record as verified. At that point, the school can review the student's other eligibility criteria to offer the student a financial aid award package. At the end of the year, School Servicing Center makes available to the schools all of the documents that were used to complete the verification. School Services Center contacts students by email, mail, and text alerts. It's like my 14-year-old daughter said, my granddaughter said to me, I sent her an email, and she said, Mama, email. She said, I never look at emails, always text alerts. So we know they're going to look at the text alerts. We contact students and continue to contact students with reminders until they have all the information requirements completed. It's really more reminders than most schools. We surround the student with the support and constant reminders. School Servicing Center will contact the college on an as-needed basis. School Servicing Center assesses each new ISER to determine if information requirements have been changed. As we know, many times a family will go back to the FAFSA on the web and change the data. That creates a new ISER transaction. When School Services Center receives that ISER, it goes through the analysis again to see if there are additional requirements that need to be resolved. Reminders and other information. School Servicing Center will follow up to the key dates that a school determines, whether it be bill's due date, the registration date, classes start day, it could be the census date. The school can request student-specific extensions of their verifications as well if you're almost done but not quite. Emails are sent out on a schedule with increasing urgency as we get towards what we call a target deadline. Text alerts reminders they're sent in a properly and timely manner. Students receive these text alerts to come to the website to complete their requirements. Also, there is an online student authorization to speak with and or copy parents, the spouse, or other person on emails and text alerts. Just like schools have a consent to release records. The School Servicing Center also has this available for students. And then timing. Let's suppose that the school has an uploaded list on, let's say, March 1st, but their target date is not until October 1st. During this time, School Servicing Center will constantly email the student about any requirements they have not completed. 45 days before the target date, the reminders will get a little bit more aggressive, another one at 30 days, and another one at 15 days before the target date. If the student has not satisfied all requirements at the target date, the student will be notified that the file has been closed, but the student is given many, many opportunities to satisfy their requirements. Another way of looking at this is at the later request. Let's suppose that the school sends in a request sometime within the 45 days before the target date. At that point, we have 45 days to complete the verification. And normally, think about it this way. Let's suppose you have students in school in September. We want to get that verification done as quickly as possible to get those funds to their student accounts to satisfy their tuition and fees. So no matter whether it's an early request or a late request, we will work with those students to get the verification completed. In the next example, you'll see some text alerts that will go to the students. The student must opt in to receive text alerts, and at any time they can opt out to stop getting the text alerts. Another important part is the document management. All documents received at school services imaged and indexed. These documents are available to schools in near real-time on the web administrator portal. All data from submitted documents is entered into the system and can be viewed on the portal. The school tracks the progress online through the web portal at a portfolio level through the dashboard, which includes all students, or on an individual student level. What is needed, what is received, and what is the status of that school with their verification. The online verification interview helps the student get through the process in an easier and faster fashion. It's simply not completing online forms. The student uses an interview to complete the forms. It's like TurboTax. It improves the student experience by guiding them through the process with questions and guidance to complete this or that, and it may come up with saying, well, now we need this information as well. The online verification interview. The system facilitates asking and answering more questions while the student is online the first time rather than asking them to come back many times. It is simpler and easier questions for the student to understand. The instructions are clear and more accurate information is received because of that. Fewer actions to take and fewer follow-ups needed. More information is gathered in one session instead of over several weeks and multiple emails. E-sign availability shortens the verification time as well. The e-sign is in accordance with the E-Sign Act of 2001. Customer service students, always important for schools and for school servicing center. There is an experienced call center staff, and they know how to answer the questions and when to refer that question to the school. They are available 8 to 8 Monday through Friday and from 8 to 5 on Fridays. There is also a form email that students can complete and get detailed response with assistance and guidance with their verification. There are customized emails, letters, and address the complex issues with the process or required documentation, making it again easier for the student than just completing a form. Finalizing the verification. Once all data and documents are submitted, the system assesses information and determines, is additional information needed? If so, the student receives supplemental requests and reminders. This could be because during the interview process, there is conflicting information that pops up, and that needs to be satisfied. Sometimes there's an additional review that sometimes need a person to look at it, and that's when the financial aid services staff will have this record escalated to them so they can work with the student on a one-on-one basis. ISER corrections required. When there is a correction, correcting the data from the FAFSA, the corrected data is sent to the CPS by School Servicing Center. The service, once it receives the ISER data back, it confirms the accuracy of the CPS changes. Once it's verified and no additional action or information is required, the record is flagged as verified and in the school system as well. Communication, keeping the college informed. Financial aid services work with the financial aid management system of the school. There are emails and calls for day-to-day processing issues. There are regular progress calls that spot the process issues and trends. The college tracks the submitted records with online dashboard and the individual student records with online reports to help them download those reports and run through their own system to create some help to target those students to help them even more. When an administrator logs in, the first thing they'll see is the administrator portal. They'll have information about the total request. And just remember that a school has the ability to upload a request list on a daily basis, a weekly basis. It is the school's decision how often they wish to upload a verification list. So they will have information concerning the total request. They also are going to have information about the records that are actively being worked. What about the benefits? Some schools have told School Servicing Center that they said even though the staff are still busy, they could spend more time with the students who needed it. What we did had more meaning for the students and the college. The staff could spend time where it really matters, on students struggling with the process, not only this process, but other financial aid processes as well. They can explain their options to the students, and the staff can build a bond with the students simply because they're not trying to get through the paperwork of verification and have that time to spend with their students, building a better bond. School Services Centers take strong measures to protect the confidentiality and privacy of student and family information. Data collection, the web portals, and the automated review protected by a layered defense system. CFI provides a common platform file transfer system located in a DMZ secure zone on College Foundation's network to securely exchange files for processing. College Foundation systems are PCI compliant, most recently quarterly external vulnerability test rated, very, very secure. It is taken seriously, just as you do at a school. And now we're going to have a little bit about the web demonstration. One of the best things about the web portal is it is the same web portal for students and financial aid staff members. Access is given to the web portal by the financial aid administrator to their staff members. The school is in control of which staff members have access. The students log on starting with the Student tab at the top of the student link in the center of the form or in the center of the form. Students come here. They also have the contact information. They have tips, frequently asked questions. They can email school services. They have a general mailing address, a toll-free number, and the physical address. For financial aid administrators, they log on using their username and their password. It's important to note that passwords expire every 90 days. Once they are logged in, they see the next page. They have a helpful links section with the policies, the procedure, and other guides that are helpful to them. They also have a contact tab at their own. As you know, this is the same information given to students, but on the right side, there are special contacts for the financial aid administrators. Again, back to our dashboard, and let's look at what we have here. We have a menu. Schools can start the process by uploading their files. When they upload a file, they will go to a form, and here they have help that will tell them how to upload the request file. They choose their file according to what they have determined of which files they wish to send to School Servicing Center to be processed, and they upload that file. There are several help items on this form to help the students, the schools, upload their files. This is an example of the file format and the detail of what that file format will look like. There is helpful information here to give the school the file format for each award year. Once the school uploads this file format, immediately the information is analyzed for the ISER data, is matched to the ISERs that are on file at College Foundation, and once all data is matched, the students begin receiving emails to come to the same website to begin their verification process. And at this time, Marty is going to walk us through a little bit about what the student will see.
Thanks, Kay. So the students will start very similar, same web page. They'll go to the Student tab where they can get some information. Any updates that we have for them will be on this page. And there's also help available for them through the FAQ and facts, as Kay mentioned. So click the Let's Get Started button and be asked to log in using their Social Security number, date of birth, and which academic year it is. We'll also ask them to select which grade level they're in to confirm that the grade level they used on the FAFSA. And then they are presented with a profile page. On the profile page, we'll collect emails, their current email address. In the future, we'll be able to select which one, multiple email addresses, and select a preferred email. We'll also ask for a phone number that we can use for texting, and they will get this help box, which shows that we'll probably, at most, contact them 20 times. And that's if there's a lot of delays or if we require a lot of information from them. And they're also able to create this electronic signature or e-sign password that they'll use for the e-sign process. And again, if they hover over the what's this, it pops a little help up just telling them why we need this number or how to create this number. In the case of a dependent student, we'll also collect their mother's or their parents' full name, because from the FAFSA they only have a first initial, and a current email address to use in the e-sign process. The next page they get to is a summary of what they need to complete before we can do verification. In the example that follows, we're going to go through a household size and number in college, and then also the SNAP form. This past Friday, we put into production the interview that will actually go through the tax information and earnings from work, but that will not be displayed today. So if they click the Use our Easy Interview button, they'll get to a summary page. And this page, basically, this checklist tells them what they need to bring with them, what have available while they're filling out the interview to answer the questions. Anytime during the interview, if they click on this watch symbol, we'll show a current progress as far as what they need to do in this interview and how far they're coming along the way. I'll show you more on that later. So first we check on the parent's marital status. In this case, we're going to say single. And we confirm Erica's information from the FAFSA to make sure everything is still correct. And if she needs to change that, there's a help on how to change that information. From there, we'll go to collecting a little bit more information about the parent, including the relationship and whether or not there's other parents in the household. And then from here, we'll start filling in the rest of the household grid, looking for siblings or foster siblings that are the parents support financially. And we'll get those folks listed. Here we're going to add Mary, a sister. After we add Mary, we'll add Jeff, a brother. And you can see down here we show Mary so we don't lose track of who's being added already. Once we have added all the siblings, we give a summary page and allow them to edit the page by either clicking this little pencil button or deleting that sibling, clicking the trash can. Once we've collected sibling information, then we check to see if there's any other dependents that are financially supported by the parents, more than 50% in that academic year. In this case, we're going to say no. Had we said yes, we'd go through a similar form that we did for the children, collecting information about, say, grandmother or a cousin that lives in the household. At the end of collecting household information, we show a summary of Erica, her mother, and the two siblings. And you'll see that we automatically said that the two siblings are not enrolled at least half-time in college. The reason that question never came up is their age was young enough where we didn't even have to ask that question. If they were 16 years or older, that question would have been presented, and Erica would have answered yes or no for them as to whether or not they're enrolled in a college as well. At this point, Erica can confirm this information and move on to the next question, which is about SNAP. And we're going to say no for the SNAP. And as you can see with the progress bar, household has been checked off. So we're done with that part of it. We're going to answer no here. So we said that, we're going to answer yes here. So we did indicate that a member does receive SNAP. And we asked them to certify this information. They can go back and make changes or submit the information. At this point, you'll see the progress bar shows that all of the necessary information has been collected. So we'll move on to the summary page. And in this page, we remind Erica of what her password was for electronic signature. We'll also send an email out where she can click this, do the electronic signature. And as I said, in this case, this interview process did not include the tax information. Now, if we were going to go through this today on the live site, that actually would be included in the interview. So from here, we're going to go switch over to Erica's email. So Erica got an email, and it just says click here to electronically sign the document. Once she does that, a website will come up. She'll enter her password that she just got reminded about. She can review the document, and this document has a cover letter and then a form, the form version or PDF version of the data that we collected for the household size. And then there's a SNAP form with the item check that there is a member of the household who is receiving SNAP benefits, and a signature page. So I'm just going to have Erica sign that. And then she's done with the signature. An email will be dispatched to Martha, her mother, and she'll also click here to sign the document, enter the shared password, and then she can review the document as well. She can see that Erica actually signed the document, and then when she clicks to sign the document, she can type in her name or use social media identity to sign the document. And once that is signed, here you can see her signature as well as Erica's signature. She'll also get the done with e-sign statement, and then they can go on to, they'll get a signed copy of the PDF in their email box, and we'll get a signed copy here to process. I'm going to turn it back over to Kay to finish the admin side of it.
Thanks, Marty. When the administrator comes back to the website, of course they'll log in and they'll come back to the dashboard. When they're working with the dashboard, they can get more details about their numbers, so to speak. And once they check their numbers, if they'll click on the pie chart, say for the request status details, they'll get a copy of their numbers of where the students are collectively in the different statuses. In the in-process details, where we are still actively working with students, they'll be able to see where they are too. It's been suggested to schools that what they do with this is that they take a day, say once a day, early in the morning, log some of these records so they can keep historical records of how their verifications are progressing. Also, they can use these reports to give reports to their upper administrators at the schools, which is a great tool to have. And the next thing too, one of the things they can do is come to the menu, and at this point what they can do is decide, I want to look at some student detail records. They can do that one or two ways. They could go to menu and click on the request details, or they can go over here and click on details. Once they click on either place, then they're going to start getting to student data. Here under request details, they'll have an academic year. We will have schools that we're working with 2 concurrent award years at one time. In the request status, if they click the little question mark, they're going to be giving the definition of all of these statuses. Here they can click here to determine which status they wish to review or all statuses. In the request range, they could say, okay, I want to look only at the request that I submitted from October 1st until today. Once they've made a decision on which statuses they wish to use, they'll click Filter. Today we're going to filter on all for our purposes. And as you can see, we have different statuses: canceled at the school request, an error, no response from the student, inactivated, in process. But for today's purpose, we're going to look at a couple of students to see what these statuses mean and how the school can make some other decisions to help the students. Let's first of all look at Cindy Lemon, who has a status of error. In her status, it says error. The request was received by school services to verify the record, but the school was not listed on the ISER, which means when the school uploaded the request, that school was listed as a school. In the meantime, Cindy removed that federal school code from the FAFSA on the web, and by the time this was started processing, that school was no longer on that ISER. One of the good things about this is that the school can filter on the errors. They can contact the student to say, was that an error? Did you mean to remove us? And it would be a good way to recruit the students if it was an error. Another thing that the schools can do, when they're looking at some of the statuses, they have the ability to sort on student ID number, social security number, on their name, last name and first name, date requested, and date that is closed. They can also start entering, say, an ID number or a social security number or a last name and immediately begin finding the student's record as displayed here. Over to the side, you have 2 action buttons. One is to view the student's record, and the other is a cancel button. Let's suppose Crystal Waters comes into the financial aid office and said, I'm not going to be able to come back to school here next year because my family is moving across the country. At that point, the school may want to cancel the record so that the student will not continue to get the emails and text alerts. When they click the cancel button, a pop-up box will say, are you certain you really want to cancel this, yes or no? For our purposes today, we're not going to cancel it, but this is how a school can cancel a verification record. But today we're not canceling her record. So we're continuing with her verification. She may have some documents that she wants to upload to School Servicing Center. At the bottom of here, she can get some detailed information on what types of documents she can upload and how she can upload those documents. She'll choose the document with it where she has it saved on her computer, whether it be on the desktop or in another file, and then she'll choose it. And she can also choose which document she is uploading. Once that's uploaded, that is received by School Servicing Center and immediately being processed. Another thing about Crystal Waters, too, it tells us here at the top that she's in the missing information letter status, and we also know that her online interview is awaiting an e-signature. But down below is an important information for the financial aid officer. It is giving the verification history from the beginning up to the current date of everything that has happened with her verification. Keep in mind that schools are going to be able to see exactly what the student sees and what is being required. But in this verification history, this is only something that the financial aid administrator will see. In some cases, there are forms that a student may have to upload. In this case, what has happened with this is that we have some conflicting information. Linda completed the online verification interview process, and there's a conflict with what she put in there. She said that with the FAFSA and conflicting information needs to be resolved. Your FAFSA lists your parents' marital status as single. Documentation you provided on the interview form lists 2 parents. So at this point, we're asking her to complete a form to confirm her parents' current marital status. And keep in mind, this is not a person who identified this. This is the process that identified this. When a student completes a form, it will require a handwritten signature. And if it's a dependent student, it will require the student as well as the parent's signature. And we do tell them on the forms that they must hand sign these. In another case, let's look at Rose Flowers. Rose also completed the online interview form. However, in Rose's situation, it's a little bit different. Rose has always lived with her grandparents. She completed the FAFSA on the web with her grandparents as parents. On the FAFSA, students are required to complete the information if they're dependent concerning their biological or adoptive parents. When Rose completed the online interview form, she indicated that her parents were her grandparents. This was picked up in the interview, and then she's being asked to complete another form or to take action, which is the parent not listed. She's told either to return to the FAFSA on the web and to complete this with her biological or adoptive parents. But let's suppose Rose does not know where her biological parents are. At that point, we want to redirect her to the financial aid office so the financial aid office can get the documentation that she does not know where her parents are and possibly make her an independent student. At that point, once that process has been completed, the school can send a new request for verification for Rose as an independent student. But again, that is helping that student. In the next case, we're looking at some things where the records have been verified and keyed to the FAM system. This means that the students have completed all records. Everything has been verified again as to being accurate and that we have a valid ISER. At this point, Financial Aid Services will go into the school system and flag the student's record as being verified, allowing the school to check other eligibility criteria and offer the student a financial aid award package. There is going to be an interface that will complete this process electronically and eliminate the manual process. There's some reports available to the schools. As we know, we have a target date that the school determines as to what point will a record become inactive when the student does not complete all requirements. The school can select anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks that are away from the target date. They also have the ability to select the option to say, I want to look at all the students who reported that they have completed some requirements versus no requirements. And they can make this selection here. They also know how many days away from being inactive. They can view the student's records. The good thing about this is that they can export this data to distribute the information or bring it into their financial aid management system to create other reports. And this can be effective with a recruiting tool. Another report available to schools is the unsolicited document report. We all know that students will give financial aid offices documents that don't necessarily satisfy a requirement for verification. In this case, when these documents are received by a school servicing center, they are reviewed to see if they can be used in the verification process. If they cannot be used, we need to get them to the school to see if it is a document they need. They can come to the unsolicited document report and they can view these documents to see if it's something they can use or a document they may have requested on their own, but the student sent it to school servicing center. This will help the school stay in compliance in many ways. And now, that's a little bit about the verification service that is a compliance service that will help schools feel confident that the federal regulations are being met. If there are other questions about School Servicing Center, please follow up with questions and contact Pat Kaiser at School Servicing Center with those questions. It is a good service for schools, allowing them to spend more time with their students on more pressing issues. Thank you.
Thanks, Kay. While people are entering some questions into the Q&A box and giving CFI staff some time to look at those questions, let me talk about a few details regarding how the contract and invoicing arrangements work. The system office, once approved by our state board, enters into a master service agreement with the North Carolina State Education Assistance Authority on behalf of the participating colleges. Also, participating colleges will also sign an agreement with CFI. Each month, the State Education Assistance Authority invoices the system office based on the actual number of ISERs verified and C-flag resolutions completed. We then rebill colleges on a quarterly basis. Pricing for this service is going to stay the same for this upcoming academic year as the current academic year. That's $21 per ISER verified and $3 per C-flag resolved. So those prices are not changing. Again, you will actually be invoiced directly from the system office as a way of streamlining that process. Even though we are looking towards our next academic year, it's very important for colleges to have conversations about whether or not they plan to participate for the upcoming academic year, because of course we will be wanting colleges to submit ISERs for verification and begin that process well in advance the fall term. Okay, would you all like to respond to any of the questions that have been submitted at this time, or would you like to follow up later?
We'll be happy to. Yes, we'll be happy to answer those questions. I have a question of many of our students incorrectly report or don't remember the grade level that they reported on the FAFSA. Would this affect the login process for the student? Can the student still gain access? Yes, the student will be able to gain access. If they answer incorrectly, they're going to be told you answered incorrectly, but they will be able to answer again. So yes, they can. It will not prevent them from accessing the interview.
Okay, and there's also a question about the enhancements to the student interview. So on Friday, what we did is we got through QA and delivered another part of the interview to handle the several of the tax questions and non-filer questions and a lot of the other, if you will, financial portions of the verification process, so that now not only can you do the household and the SNAP and child support kind of issues, you can also do a lot of the financial parts through the interview as well and electronically sign that. So we still encourage everyone to do the IRS data retrieval, and then that, of course, brings the financial information into the ICER data, so it makes it a lot easier to do the comparisons. But if they have not done that, then we request that they go do their tax, get the tax transcript, and then we allow them to enter the information from that. And if they're working, we get the W-2 information or the 1099 information. So we basically collect a lot of the financial information right there while they're on screen with us. We let them upload the information during the interview, or if they don't have it at that point, then they can upload it a little bit later to us. And if there's any other questions, you can go ahead and type those into the Q&A box, and I guess we'll entertain those until we have to close. Thank you.
Marty, it appears that we have a question that actually got put in the chat box that asks some questions about how students get paperwork to you. Obviously, we've talked about uploading them into the system. Are there other ways that students can get paperwork to school services?
Yeah, okay, I see those now in the chat. So yes, there's the upload online. We do accept faxes. We also accept mail. If they live in the Raleigh area, they can walk right up and hand it to us. Some of the schools, what they've done is they've created centers right in their financial aid office with a fax machine or a computer terminal with a scanner, so that the students can kind of self-service and upload right from school. So there's multiple ways to get the documents to us. We'll take them pretty much any way they come in, carrier pigeon or otherwise. And if we do have students who cannot get on the internet, do not have email, do not have access, there is an option to go what we like to call paper. And in that case, instead of getting text messages and emails from us, we will actually send them letters, paper letters, through snail mail, which they can, with the forms attached, they can fill out the forms, sign them, wet sign them that is, and then mail them or fax them back to us. And then the process will continue from there as anyone else's process would continue. So we kind of get them always that way.
I see there was also a question wanting me to clarify the pricing structure. Again, prices are the same as this current academic year, and for those of you who are not familiar with those prices, those were $21 per ICER verified and $3 per flag resolved. And colleges are invoiced quarterly based on the actual number of ICERs verified and flag resolved during the previous period for which you're being invoiced. Hopefully that answers that question. Are there any other questions that folks... go ahead.
I do see another question there about are all files, records sent back to the school even if verification has not been completed. So on On all the completed verifications, we definitely send any documents that came up with the document, with that verification, and then any of the unsolicited documents would also go along with that. If we don't complete the verification, then whoever completes the verification would have all those documents. But at any time during the process, the financial aid administrators can log into the system and see what we've gotten from the student, what they've uploaded, and everything. So it's fully transparent. You'll have PDFs of everything that we've received from that student, whether we ask for it or not. So if they send a picture of the family reunion, you'll have that picture. Let's see, students. There's another question from Julie. Is there a phone interview process for students who are unable to use the online verification? I think I answered that with the paper process. So we don't answer the verification questions via phone, but we do allow them to do a paper version of the process.
I would just remind everyone that today's presentation was recorded. It will be available on demand at successnc.org by the end of this week. So the same place where you went to register, if you want to go back to any of the details that we covered, you can replay that portion of the presentation. If you had some colleagues who were not able to participate, they will also be able to access the webinar via successnc.org so that they can get up to speed on the information that we covered today. Looks like we've covered most of what folks have submitted. If you have any last-minute questions, we'll be hanging around for a little bit here in case there are anything that folks want to submit at the last minute. However, we will go ahead and be mindful of everyone's time, plan to sign off, and want to just give final many thanks to our presenter, Kay and Marty from CFI. And on behalf of all the North Carolina Community Colleges, thank you today for the Learning Solutions Center for setting up today's webinar for financial aid simplification. Thank you very much for your participation.